Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hi, everybody. Jackie Woodside here again with another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast. Isn't that just a delightful thought to bring into your day? Here we seek to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. And I'm so committed to that because we are at such an important time of awakening in our country, in our world, in our souls. So today I'm just so thrilled to bring to the Conscious Living Podcast somebody who I consider to be a real expert in this whole topic of conscious living. There's so many things happening in our world that this term conscious living is just getting kind of tossed around at us. And does that mean I practice yoga or I eat a vegan diet? Or is it that I go to church on a regular basis? Like, what does it mean to live life consciously anyway? And Dr. Pamela Moss is somebody who has committed the majority of her adult career to being a soul alignment guide, somebody who isn't just skimming along the surfaces, helping people set goals and make more money, although that's a valid way to make a living. She dives deep into your soul alignment, your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. So I'm so looking forward to this conversation today. Dr. Pamela, thank you so much for being with us on the Conscious Living Podcast. Why don't you say a little bit more about yourself so people can get to know you?
Sure. I'm just delighted to be here. Can I just say that? It's so much fun already.
Exactly.
What I do fundamentally is I help people get their subconscious mind and their superconscious mind, the part of you that knows far, far more than you're consciously aware of, aligned so that you can move forward with what's important to you without stress or struggle. It's just, and really step into the highest version of you, which is what I would consider you living consciously.
So great. So you already said a mouthful, and I'm going to just pick this apart and dive in.
Go
So
ahead.
what you're saying then, Dr. Pamela, is that our mind has different parts to it. You're saying the
Yes.
mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind. So let's start right there by
Sure.
helping people understand exactly what that means.
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to. So I think we've all probably heard of the subconscious mind, but people don't talk as much about the superconscious mind. So, what do I want to start with this? Well, I remember years ago being shown a chart of like sort of mind, and it was basically showing there's what you know that you know, and you know that you know it. And then there's what you know that you don't know, and you know that you don't know it.
Yeah.
And most of our lives, we're just taking things from the I don't know how to do that or know what that is and moving it into the I know it category. And then they would say there was a third category, which is what you don't know that you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know it. In other words, your blind spot. And for a long time, there were just those three categories. But then I looked at it logically and I thought, well, there's got to be a category where you don't know what you know, too.
You don't know
what you
know.
Because you don't,
Wow.
but you don't know what you know. And that is the realm that I really love to play in, which is what I would call your trusted guidance, what you trust beyond your conscious awareness, and even if you don't believe that you have any trusted guidance, in my experience working with people, there's been times in their lives when they got an inner knowing, like, I just need to leave this relationship, or I just should apply for that job, or there's something I should do, and it goes beyond what your conscious mind is thinking, like, don't get on that plane, or whatever it is that you could consider higher guidance. And there's a lot to say about it, but that's and for me as a former Ivy League academic who is totally rational, totally not spiritual at all, I sort of came at this in a kind of like, well, that makes logical sense. There has to be this fourth category in that diagram.
Nice. All right. So how do you define and help your clients understand what the subconscious mind is and what it does, and what the superconscious mind is and what it does?
Right. So what I do give people sort of language to talk about it, but what's much more important is just experience and work with it, because looking at it, sort of in this intellectual way does not get you very far. So the subconscious.
Well, feel free to demonstrate anything with me on this podcast.
Goody, are you offering? Okay, great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because I agree with you. It's one thing to kind of know about something and talk about it versus actually being in it. So I love being real and practical and connected and aligned by doing what we're talking about on this.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what a good way to do this is to the subconscious mind fundamentally wants to keep us safe. And the way that it keeps us safe is by keeping us where we are, because at least we're surviving or or maybe thriving, but if we just stay put where we are, that feels safe to the subconscious mind.
Nothing new, nothing unfamiliar, just status quo.
And the subconscious mind literally is continually filtering all the information coming in at you, around you, and filtering it such that you only see what you already believe. Like, so you literally, I remember early on, I realized this when I was working with a woman who, she wanted to get a job at, she already had a volunteer job, and she wanted to get a job where she would actually get paid working at this hospital she worked at. But she just was quite sure that she was not, she didn't think she would be able to get a job. And we did a little bit of inner work, and she went to the hospital. She'd gone volunteering for quite a while, and she noticed suddenly there's an HR department.
Wow. Like
never thought of
got there last week.
And then she walked up and there was a bulletin board back when we had bulletin boards, and there was a notice on there for a job very much like her volunteer job, but a paid job. And it kind of fell out, just like popped out at her. And she's like, oh, maybe I'll go in there and ask them about that job. She asked about it, and then within a week, she had that job that she never dared to ask for before we did the work to open her mind up so she could see something new.
It's so great. Can I give you a brief example of that?
Yes, please.
So I had a belief, notice I said had. I had a belief that I was horrible at keeping track of things and I lose things all the time. And one day I was at my office getting ready to wrap up for the day, and I was chatting with a colleague on the phone about some business that we had to take care of. So as we're chatting on the phone, I wrapped up, I grabbed my lunch bag and threw it in my work bag. I got my notes and files that I needed. I put that in my work bag. And then I threw my work bag on my shoulder, and I'm like, I got to grab my phone. Where's my phone? So I'm walking around the office. I went into the waiting room. I looked all over the waiting room. God, what did I do with it? I always lose stuff. Where's my phone? I walked into my therapy space where I was doing the counseling. Oh, I can't believe this. And I walked back into my workspace and was like, my phone. I'm talking to my
on my phone.
On my phone.
You're not the first person who's done that. It's so funny.
Right? So
where's my glasses? And they're on top of your head.
Right. Where's my glasses? Right. So the belief that I'm like, kind of a scatterbrain and I always lose things drove my behavior so that while I was chatting on the phone, getting ready to leave for the day, I could not see the phone.
Yes, exactly. That's a beautiful example of how the subconscious mind just screens out whatever is not aligned with, but whatever
not aligned with what you believe.
See what you believe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to repeat that you said earlier because it was so powerful. You can only see what you believe.
Yeah.
I have a similar one that I say in most of my workshops. You cannot change what you cannot see. But the caveat to that is you can only see what you believe. So that's really, really a brilliant offering.
Yeah, well, it's one. I can give you an example of what it's like to actually tap into your subconscious mind so you can literally see more expansively.
Okay.
And the way to do this would actually be to think about something that you want to create or a goal or something that matters to you. And then we'll tap into your subconscious mind to make it much more real for you. So,
all right, great. So do you want to do a demo then?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I can't wait.
Okay, great. And something that currently feels like it's a stretch or you can't.
Stretch. Yeah, no, I have it in my mind already.
Perfect. Oh, good. So what's the situation or the challenge?
Sure. It is a challenge. So my spouse and I own my great aunt and uncle's cottages. Uncle Don and Aunt Kitty on one side, Uncle Torrance and Aunt Nomi's on the other. They were both built in the 50s. And we just bought the second one, and we call it Camp 2. We just bought the second one this year, and we spent the summer in it. I hate that bad boy.
Oh, no.
I want to tear that sucker down and rebuild it. Okay. So what's the challenge or opportunity? The challenge or opportunity is I want to tear that sucker down and rebuild it without going into any form of debt. Those 2 cottages are paid for. Our house is almost paid for. I'm pushing 60 and don't want another mortgage. So we clearly have a lot of equity, but I want to create this experience with ease. I want to create it exactly how I want it to be. And how I
Okay,
want it to be is I don't want to have to go into debt for this.
great.
Fundamentally, I need to generate about another $300,000 over the course of the year to build it in the next 12 to 18 months
Mhm.
without debt.
Perfect. So are you ready to translate this goal for your subconscious mind? I'm going to ask you some questions and you're just going to see what comes to mind. And it's going to become much more real and doable to your subconscious mind just by
Oh,
doing
great.
this process,
Do
which
you
I
mind if I close my eyes so I can have
no,
less
no, whatever
information?
helps you go within. And I call this process the sixth senses to clarity.
Okay,
Because of
good.
course there's the five we know, and then there's intuition, our sixth sense. Okay, so
I'm with you.
exactly, you're naturally just relaxing. That's perfect. So what I'd like you to do is just holding this challenge and opportunity in your mind. When it's true, when it's already done, when it's already happening, what will you see? What does that look like when it's happening, when it's true? We're going to look for three different images, different ways of looking at it, different aspects or facets of it that show your subconscious mind. That's what I mean. So that might be, and I mean literally see, like a photograph or a
Yeah.
movie or a slideshow.
So the first one is meeting with an architect with big drawing plans out in front of us.
Okay, great. So you have that visual snapshot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
The
Two.
second one is a construction site with the wood framing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is this glorious house full of glass and stone and cedar, looking out over the St. Lawrence River. And my spouse and I sitting with our feet up on the railing of the deck, celebrating our victory.
Wonderful. I love that's a time lapse. You know, the scrolls to the framing to the finishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any aspect of this issue, challenge, opportunity that isn't expressed by these three images of it actually being built? Because remember, you want to have the 300,000 with ease. And is there anything else that needs to address that?
No.
Okay, great. So the visual part is complete. Is that right?
Yeah, as best I can tell, nothing else comes to mind.
Okay, perfect. So now we're going to explore what you will hear when this is true. And by hear, I mean literally, like you might hear in your head, well, that was so easy, or something you say out loud to somebody else, or something somebody says to you, sounds around you in the environment, something symbolic or metaphoric, like angels going, hallelujah. So what will that sound like? We're looking for three things you will hear when it's true.
I will hear the construction project, so the machines and the hammering and the pounding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I will hear the water lapping onto the shore as I sit on my new deck.
Mm.
And I will hear my spouse and I saying, "Time for the happy dance. We did it."
Great, awesome. And the next question is, how will you feel like emotionally? What's the feeling of this being complete, this happening, of this being real?
Oh, do you want three or get?
Whatever's there for
Yeah,
you.
I'm already just so excited. This is just, it's a dream come true. It's
Mm,
something that we've kind of gone around and around on for years since we owned the
mm.
first cottage 15 years
Oh,
ago.
wow,
So
that's
it's a sense of excitement, but I think even more so, this is just coming up. There's a
mhm.
sense of relief.
Great. So I'd like you to actually allow that relief and that excitement to just bubble up inside you until it's really present, so you can
Mm,
really feel it. And you're
yeah.
feeling it now. Where are you feeling it?
In the pit of my stomach,
Hmm.
uh,
Good.
kind of like around my face where I smile,
Okay, so it's two places at least. Is there another place too?
third eye.
Third eye. Great. So it's pit of stomach and face, smile, and third eye. Great. So good. So I'd just like you to tap into that. And are these different places in your body, these different places you're feeling the relief and the excitement, are they warm or cool or neutral temperature? Like if they
I was
had
just going to tell you I'm breaking into a sweat.
okay, okay,
I'm literally breaking into a sweat.
really good. Well, letting yourself really feel it. Just stay with it. And if this feeling that's making you break into a sweat that you feel in your pit of your stomach and your smile and your third eye, if it had a shape or shapes, what shape or shapes would it be?
As this circle, and that symbolizes coming full circle. This property's
Mm,
been in my family for 6 generations.
okay.
So it's coming full circle to ensure that the generations will continue and that I'm making a contribution for the betterment of my family legacy.
And when you see this circle, does it have a particular color to it, or is it several colors?
Turquoise.
Turquoise. And is it a circle like a drawing or a circle like a ball? It sounds like a circle, more like a ring or something.
Yeah, it's more like a ring, but it's filled in.
Mm.
And I can see like energy going around the edges of it.
Beautiful. And if you could reach out your hand and touch that energy in that ring, what would it feel like to your fingers?
It's warm and soft, like kind of like silky.
Good. And just two more questions. If you could smell this soft, silky, warm feeling of relief and excitement that's like a circle of being full completed, but had a smell, what would the smell be?
Hmm. Just kind of a pleasant uh, aroma, like
Mm.
not like a cologne, almost kind of somewhere between a nice tea and a nice perfume.
Okay. So, and you may not have words because we don't have really great words for smell sometimes, but you have a sense of what that is for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And then the last question is if you could put all of this, all these sensations and emotion and images and sounds and feelings and put all of it into your mouth and taste it, what would it taste like?
Hmm.
Whatever
I
comes to
don't
mind.
know.
Yeah, well, just sit with it a moment and see if your subconscious mind just pops something up. It might not make any sense. Like, why would it make sense what it tastes like? But just see if you
Okay, it tastes like the river water in my mouth.
Fantastic. Good. So just notice if this process is complete. The six senses to clarity for your goal is complete.
Okay.
Does it feel complete?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Okay, awesome, good. So, so you can bring yourself back here and just notice, what did that do for you?
Oh, it's exciting. It's
And it's
like,
exciting. Yeah, you can really feel it now. You
let's
literally
go.
feel it in your body.
I was like so excited. It's like, yeah, it really is a dream come true.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Good. So, and that excitement and feeling it in your body is your subconscious mind going, "Oh, I get it. I'm on board with you now." So you're feeling
Yeah, I
this.
even have tears in my eyes. I'm even a
Yeah,
little
good for
teary.
you. Well,
Yeah,
because sure, you're completing a dream. It's coming full circle. It's legacy for your family. It's meaningful and beautiful.
it is very much so.
Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful job. And that's just a little taste of working with the subconscious mind to get it on board with what
Oh.
you want. There's a whole
So
process.
what's the outcome of that, Dr. Pamela? What does that do in the process of manifestation?
What that does is that activates your reticular activating system to focus your subconscious mind on this is what I want. So it's like, remember we talked before, like you don't even see examples of what you want if you don't think it's possible. You just
Yes.
told yourself in a deep way, it is possible. I feel it, I see it, I smell it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now your system will start looking for evidence of that externally.
So I love this. So what is the reticular activating system?
I don't have a good definition for it, honestly. It's
Okay.
basically,
Great.
look
You're
it up
like,
if you want to know.
I can do that for you if you want, but
Please do, please do.
yeah, so it's the brain's capacity to search and find
Mhm.
and categorize what it is that you are looking for.
That's a
Um,
perfect way to describe it. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, and your brain really does have that capacity. How it's most often described is when you've decided you're going to buy a red Tesla, all of a
Right.
sudden you start seeing red Teslas
Love that.
everywhere.
Exactly. I remember when and I wanted to get pregnant and I did get pregnant. Suddenly pregnant women everywhere.
Pregnant women everywhere. Yes. So that which you desire,
Yeah,
the brain has the capacity to then start seeing and filtering it into your world.
exactly. So it
Yeah.
just expands, it literally expands what's possible because now
Yeah.
you see examples. And I mean, we both know this. I've had so many times where someone just by, like, I remember once a woman who came to one of my workshops and her goal was to get out of debt. And she was taking a car ride home from the retreat with some other people. And she was lying in the back seat, just trying to get to sleep. It was night and late time. And she heard them talking about something she would never normally have paid attention to, which was refinancing their homes. And she realized, bing, I could be debt free by refinancing my home. She got home the next day. She had a plan to be debt free.
Wow. Good for her. That's fantastic.
And it was just
Oh,
because she was open to the
right,
possibility of being
right.
debt free.
I actually led a money vibe workshop once where that exact same thing happened in my
Mhm.
workshop. Like within 48 hours,
Yeah, something
they
you struggled with for
money.
years, and suddenly
Yeah.
the brain goes, "Oh, now you're open to finding out how." Here.
Right, here it is.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I love this. So let's go back to what you initially said about the subconscious mind and then the superconscious mind. So what is that and how and where does that come into play?
Yeah, the superconscious. So just one more thing I want to say about the
Yeah.
subconscious. before I go into that, the subconscious is a vast world. It's a kingdom. It's a magical kingdom. It's got
It
so many
is.
aspects to it, which
Yeah.
could include parts of us that are subconscious, but that also have a lot of control over what we do and don't do, or can and can't think, and so much more. It's a whole world. And the superconscious mind is its own kind of world too. It's basically way I think of it is whatever we trust and believe in to have wisdom beyond our conscious mind. And sometimes we think of that as, I mean, there's different categories. So there's the category of internal guidance, which is something that we trust and believe is inside of us that has guidance for us. And it's usually just for us, like, for example, our hearts or our guts or our third eye or our higher self or our soul or something like that. And there's also universal guidance, which is something that we would trust and believe in has guidance and wisdom, not just for us, but for anybody who believes in it too, with God, angels, Buddha, Christ, whatever, like all the masters and all, that whole realm. And then there's guidance. There's a third category people don't think of as much usually, which is guidance, which is personal guidance, which just means we trust and believe it's for us and us in particular, but it's not inside us. So examples of that might be a guardian angel or a deceased relative watching over us, or an animal totem, or a spirit guide, things like that.
Nice.
So there's these different categories of trusted guidance, and it's a rich world, and it's something we can find out about simply by asking, really. And learning to trust what we get in response. So one of the things I also often have people do is what I call written dialogues,
Yeah.
which is like writing lines in a play, because then
Yeah.
you can hear more easily. You're listening more when you actually literally are listening for a response. Like you ask, "I'd like to speak to my trusted guidance, period. Are you there?" Question mark. And then you write in the next line, TG or whatever, and you listen for a response. And mostly we think of trusted guidance as something like we might pray to, or it's like a monologue. We're going, bah, bah, sending it out there,
Right.
not really listening for a response.
Right.
So written dialogues really helps people to
I teach that exact same thing. I
Of
call them
course you do.
letters to God. And I use that practice every morning.
Yeah, and I use it a lot too. It's just incredibly, I mean, working with both the trusted guidance and working with the subconscious mind, the inner protectors and the child part really helps. I mean, you can move through so much when you're just tapped in at both those levels.
So great. This is rich
Mhm.
work. And your clients are very lucky to have such a trusted guide like you.
It's my joy. It's so fun.
Yeah, I know it is your joy. It's beautiful. So let's move into this next piece. Help me understand, and our listeners, and just a note to our listeners here. I hope that as you were going through that experience of using your subconscious mind, you were using your example, not my example of my family's legacy and my summer homes. But so if you didn't, I want you to really go back through, listen to each one of those questions, and use your own intuitive guidance to help you move toward something that you desire.
Right.
So let's go to this next level, Dr. Pamela.
Mhm.
So the superconscious mind, I'm sure people have heard that, but in terms of conscious living, what
Mhm.
does the superconscious mind bring?
Okay, I'm going to give you an example from my life. So I was married for 28 years, and the last 8 years of the marriage were really rough as I was stepping more and more into my conscious living life and following my intuition. And my poor husband was just terrified. Like he was super hyper rational, just a brilliant guy, but in completely logical mind, totally could not understand, and kept saying things like, "Why do you need that? Like, can't you just go back to how you were?" But I couldn't really, because I was awakening.
Wow.
And I had this practice that I followed because I wanted to see, my commitment was I wanted us to be able, if at all possible, to reconnect, in a deep way, and for him to wake up too, and us to go through life together in that way. But if that wasn't possible, I wanted us for someday to be able to separate with love and peace, and to come together with new partners and our kids and just have a bigger family. That was my intention. That is what we have. And the practice that I did was something I just heard someone say it, and I knew that's what I need to do, is let love win.
Oh,
Instead of
that's so
me
great.
win or him win, because we were fighting a lot, in another room, so the kids couldn't hear us, but it was so painful. So what this would look like in practice is he would be, arguing with me and sort of felt like berating me. Instead of defending myself or fighting back, I would say, what would it look like to let love win right now? And I would instantly sort of shoot up and see it from above, from an observer standpoint, that observer would be higher guidance, I would think, is to look down and see his perspective. Like that's what would be shown to me. I would see his perspective and I would go, oh, he's scared. That's why he's being so angry and upset. He's really scared. I'm taking risks in my business. He would never take a risk of anything. Like he's scared. And then I would just have compassion for him. And we would come together and hug or cry, or he would storm off and we'd both come back or whatever. So that practice of letting love win was a way, although I didn't know it at the time, to tap into higher guidance to guide us, me and him, through this painful process into a really beautiful resolution where we could separate with love and with peace, and where everything lined up in magical ways, financially and otherwise, so that we could do that.
So beautiful. I love that. So the superconscious mind is your capacity to step out and observe from a higher level. Is that what you're?
Yeah, that's definitely one aspect of it, is that you can see the higher perspective.
Yeah.
And the higher perspective is when we're not reactive, because we go through life a lot of times being pretty reactive. Someone insults us or whatever. There's 1,000 ways in which we feel like we've been hurt because we carry core wounds. And if somebody pokes them, we either get angry or we run away or we freeze, fight, flight, freeze. That's really kind of the only reactions we can have when that inner hurt is triggered for whatever reason.
And how is that different when you're living consciously?
Well, I think for me, it seems like the whole journey of living consciously is to learn to be less and less reactive, to just be present with what is, instead of reacting from the ego mind, to just be able to, like I've had a lot of practice the last couple of years in particular, of being not reactive, for various family things going on with a lot of intense emotion. And I learned, like at first, like I'd have like one of my sisters would yell at me, like really berate me, and my heart would be pounding, my face would be hot. But I could learn to just breathe and be with her and like just really get like, wow, she's so upset. Oh, what's going on? Oh, wow, she's really worried about this. I would just be able to be with her and not react. And eventually she'd calm down. And I didn't tell her at first that I was practicing this. But after, she didn't realize like I was upset because I wasn't demonstrating upset. But I did tell her afterwards, I really am upset when you're yelling at me, for sure. I'm really upset and hurt and scared, or scared isn't really the word, but hurt. And the thing about it is I'm utterly committed to learning to be non-reactive.
Yeah.
I'm utterly committed to letting my body do what it does when I feel like I'm being attacked, for the sake of really, being able to be present with you and to work through this. And I said, actually, you're one of my greatest teachers because I get to practice a lot with you.
Right.
And then she just sort of melted and said, well, you're one of my greatest heroes. Like, it was this beautiful thing.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So I had this conversation with someone recently, and I want to bring it to you and to hear your perspective on it. So I said exactly that to someone a while ago, that one of the goals and blessings of living consciously is that you can become non-reactive. That you can actually have emotion rather than emotion having you.
Exactly. Like,
right. You don't get in the throes, with the alien on your face.
Oh, it's an amazing thing. It's so astounding, actually, to the conscious mind to realize, like, my body can be reacting and want to run away, but I don't have to be.
But I don't have to be.
I am not my body. I am not my emotions. Yeah.
I'm not my body. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thoughts.
Right.
I don't have to be my thoughts. It's like, oh, there's a thought that I want to call her this name, or that I want to, raise this voice, or, I don't have to do that.
Don't have to is the most powerful thought. I don't have to, because the mind thinks we have to do a whole bunch of shit.
Right. Well, when there's no separation between stimulus and response,
right.
Then you have new freedom, right?
Exactly. Freedom is that space when we tease them apart. That's exactly what freedom is.
Exactly right. So it's one of my core values. And when a lot of people hear that my core value is freedom, they think, oh, you want to be rich and do whatever you want, And I'm like, no, actually, it's freedom from the confinement of my own ego.
Yeah, exactly. That's the spiritual path in a nutshell.
That is, right. That is the spiritual path of conscious living, being from the confinement of your judgments, your opinions, your fears, your anxieties, your worries, your projections, to just let it all be. And
it's so amazing. Like the simple, I remember my current husband told me early on in my relationship with him, he said, you know that suffering is optional. And I was really angry at the time, so I was kind of like, F you.
Right. There you
But
go.
it really sank in more and more, like suffering is optional. I realized that when we'd had an argument and he was in bed sleeping and I was still awake going, "Arr," and I was so mad at him, like, why aren't you upset too? And then I really looked at him, my heart cracked open. I just love this man so much. And I just sort of curled up next to him and I fell asleep and I was in total peace. And I was like,
Oh,
suffering really is optional.
suffering is
You can
optional.
turn it off like that.
Right. So what this gentleman said to me was, but I don't want to be like a robot and have no emotion.
Ah, that's a strange thing.
I know, right? I know. I thought so too. So imagine a listener who's with us today, who's maybe newer to the spiritual path.
Sure.
And who hasn't, really felt the blessings and the benefits of not being so reactive and not being run by the ego mind, and kind of used to, these flare-ups. And
Absolutely, that's the human
adrenaline is a drug, after all.
Yeah.
This kind of high adrenaline, high drama
Yeah.
life. I'm like, what do you mean? Why would I even want to be that way?
Yeah.
So what do you say to that person?
Well, I would first of all say you may not realize it, but you're kind of addicted to adrenaline and the intensity and the drama, like that can become very addictive for us. Literally, like chemicals in our brain making us addicted to having that experience. We can also get addicted to being right. But we get a big dopamine hit when we are right. So we can get very addicted to just wanting to argue and be right.
To get your way.
To get your way, exactly. And just to, I'm right and you're wrong. Like just our ego mind's like, yes.
That's so juicy, isn't it? It's like, there, gotcha.
Exactly. So when we're addicted to anything, we don't have power, right? Like whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or shopping or our emotions or whatever.
Or your phone.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many things we can be addicted to. And addiction is, by its very definition, we do not have power, do not have control. Otherwise, we would not be addicted. So there's suffering from that. And if you want to suffer, if you're addicted to the suffering, have at it until you get sick of it.
Until you get sick of it, right? I wrote an article once that says the one addiction that you didn't know you had, and it's your addiction to your ego.
Oh my God, yeah.
Your addiction to being right, getting your way, proving the other person wrong, your opinions, your judgments, your beliefs. Like people are addicted to their ego.
Absolutely. And our culture is very strong in that. There's some cultures where people have more of a sense of being part of a group, but our culture is like, you're an individual, you're separate from everybody else. You got to be above them or below them. There's no.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. This is so rich. So in a nutshell, conscious living to you means what?
Like what I was saying before, it means the ability to not react and to open my heart fully to love.
Oh, that's beautiful. Can you imagine the whole world living that way?
There would be no more wars. There'd be no more suffering. Yeah. We would
Exactly.
come together, we'd solve all our problems pretty darn easily because they can be solved if you just stop battling.
Let's just keep imagining that together, won't we?
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Pamela Moss, thank you so much. I know people are going to want to get to know you more. I know you have a gift for people, the soulguide.com/soul alignment, the soulguide.com/soul alignment. Tell people about that and where they can find you and do some work with you.
Sure, absolutely. So what the soul alignment is actually an assessment. So the way it works is you put some kind of goal, something that you want at stake, which could be like, for Jackie, it was having her house, this beautiful house, be realized. Whatever it is that's important to you, but feels like a stretch or that you can't really have it, whatever that is. So the assessment asks you to put that down at the top of it, and then it guides you through a process using your own intuition. I actually, in the assessment, includes 2 different ways to tap into your intuition if you don't know how to do that. One of them is doing something called self-muscle testing, and the other one's called using a pendulum. Anyway, it walks you through. I have 2 little videos to walk you through these 2 methods that work for about 90% of people. Anyway, you learn this way of tapping into your own inner yes and no, and you go through the assessment, and you can see by tapping into your own inner yes and no which items on the assessment you need for your goal to be true. So that's what it is. It's a way to actually find out what inner work you need for your goal to be true.
So beautiful. Wow. Dr. Pamela Moss, you are an icon. You are brilliant. You are wise. You are one of those awakened teachers here, helping humanity to know that it is divine. So thank you for being here on the Conscious Living podcast, and
I'm
it's
honored. Thank you very
delightful to be your colleague and friend.
I agree, and mutual. Like our hearts are going ding, 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 ding.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.